players, they got a chance to play big-time games towards the end of the season. You saw the growth of the young players like Bilal Coulibaly. He did a great job of proving to not only the front office and the coaches, but also the fan base of what kind of player he is and getting out of the shadow of Victor Wembanyama, of becoming a great defender, a knockdown three-point shooter, but also a player who's going to play hard on the defensive end and attacking the basket on the offensive end towards the later end of the season. He got hurt, however, but you got to see that glimpse of what he can be for the future if he continues to work.
Now, Jason, as I look at your pro basketball reference page and I do the mental math here, was Keefe an assistant with you in the Knicks in 2014?
He was. We definitely did cross paths, and he was actually one of the assistant coaches that worked with me pre-practice, post-practice, pre-game stuff. So I know firsthand what kind of coach he is, and the fact that he is now in a head coaching role, it's a testament to his work ethic, not only in one organization with the Knicks, but he kind of bounced around he went to the Knicks, he went to Brooklyn, he was out in Phoenix for a little bit. I mean, that's a coach's lifestyle, but once you get an opportunity as a head coach, you kind of want to make your mark on the NBA. If you have success with it, you can kind of stay around for years. He's in a tough predicament in a rebuilding situation. He wants to go out there and prove, hey, I can build quality players with people who are not necessarily well known. But if we get a good core group of young guys and we build up the franchise, hopefully he'll have success with that.
Yeah, no doubt. And obviously he had the many years in Oklahoma City where he crossed with Dawkins and Winger, and you got the history there. But for you, when you worked with Brian in New York, like what was he like to work with day in, day out, up close?
Well, it was consistency. It was all about consistency and being a professional, because with New York, it's a tough place to play with the media, with the fan base, but also you take this and transfer it to D.C. It's tough to go out there and have a good showing night in and night out when you don't necessarily know the players that you're going to have. So that's something that's really going to kind of be pending on going into the draft and going into free agency. But once you get the solidarity of what the lineup and what the roster is going to be looking like, he's going to have a right to go out there and put the best performers on the floor. Not necessarily to go out there and win games per se. Obviously, you want to go out there and win games. You're an NBA team. You want to compete every night. But for a young team who's trying to build the right way, I want to see what kind of style offense he plays. I want to see what kind of style defense he plays, because he didn't necessarily get to have his mark on the team halfway through the season going into the head coaching role from the assistant coach. Anytime you do that, you're just trying to keep the ship afloat, trying to have individual success with players. Now that he's going to be heading into a new season as the head guy, really even before the draft, so he's going to have input on who they draft. He's going to have input on free agency picks that he wants to build the team with. But granted, Will Dawkins, they're going to have control of the team of, all right, this is the way we want to shape it. We're going to go with young guys, or we're going to get a couple veterans here and there to kind of point them in the right direction. So that's where I kind of want to see where the team's direction goes.
Jason Smith, analyst for Monumental Sports Network, with us here on The Hoffman Show. Of course, long, great NBA career that ended here in Washington, and then he decided to stay and be on television. So, Jason, you mentioned the Will Dawkins' impact on the basketball, and I think it's really interesting listening to Will and Michael talk, and they talk about certain metrics they want to hit, play style, pace, things, and it's very clear that there's going to be a front office directive on certain things that maybe in other organizations are driven by coaching. I'm curious, in your career, if you worked with, or you played in any organization that had a heavy front office impact, and how obviously these guys are familiar with each other. Brian Keefe knows what he's signing up for. I'm not trying to predispose some kind of conflict that doesn't exist here. But when an organization has this very clear directive, and you could even go as far as to calling it vision from the front office, and how that then translates down into the coaching staff and down into the players, did you have experiences like that? And how do you think that tends to go?
Well, I think it's going to be interesting. So for me, my personal experience, I had that in New Orleans, to where the front office was really trying to get young core group of guys, because they pressed the reset button after they traded Chris Paul to the Clippers. So you had Anthony Davis come in as the first pick, you had Austin Rivers come in as the 10th pick, and it's really getting the coaching staff to realize, hey, we may not win a lot of games, but we want to go out there and be competitive, but also developing these young guys to learn how to play a long NBA season, and really every game matters. That's the biggest thing for players nowadays. The young players, they come in and they can kind of get overwhelmed by an 82-game season. If you have that mentality of it's a marathon. It's not a sprint by any means. And if you can go out there and consistently, depending on if it's the best team in the league or the worst team in the league, if you go out there and do the same showing, now granted, it's just a part of sports. You play up to your competition, but you can also play down to your competition. Going out there in the tricky manners of, hey, maybe this team's going to overlook us. Go out there and play with no worries. Go out there and play freely. That's what I think that the coaching staff has to translate to the team of saying, hey, the pressure's not on us. The pressure's on the other team to beat us. We just want to go out there and do the right things on the offensive end, execute our defensive concepts. And if we lose, we lose. If we win, we gather the information of what we did right, apply it to the next team, apply it to the next game. So that's the biggest thing for me.
I think that's great. And I think we see that a lot of times for the transition of college to pro. I think we're seeing it right now, frankly, in the W with like Caitlin Clark has lost more games this season than she did in probably her last 3 years at Iowa. You see this all the time with, I'm trying to think of who it was a couple of years ago. There was an NBA rookie that came in and they hit a veteran hit a game winner on like the opening night and the rookie goes nuts and is celebrating. And the vet was like, dude, chill out. Like this was fun, but we got 81 more. And so yep. I'm curious how a coach like Brian's consistency can help shape a young team to get into that groove that you just talked about, where your focus is on doing the right things and to use the buzzword, the process over the results of wins and losses.
Well, I think the most important thing is to really not get too high in wins and not to get too low in losses. And I think that it doesn't necessarily come from just the coaching staff. If you have your veteran players out there who have won at the highest level, a la Kyle Kuzma, I mean, he has a championship under his belt with the LA Lakers. So if you have a mentality like that and he can bring that and kind of guide the younger players, like, man, we just had a 15-point comeback at home. Man, this was a great win. Okay, celebrate the win that night, get a good night's sleep, have a good meal, but the next day you got to prepare for the next team that's coming in 2 days, in the next day. It could be a back-to-back. So the more you can kind of be like, all right, that was nice, that was good, let's do it again. Let's do it again. And don't get bored with that process, because winning is a grind. Because as soon as you start winning and you start getting more media and more press to follow you, then you have the target on your back. Then you have to learn how to win in a different way. Everybody's going to be giving you your best shot. So there's a transition of, all right, we're building for success. And then once you have success, how do you keep that success?
So I'll wrap up with you, Jason, with the same question that I asked your colleague Chase Hughes a little bit earlier, which is for Brian Keefe in 2024, just this season, 24-25, like what success do you think for him as a coach in year one?
I want to see him have success individually with players and see what his offensive schemes and defensive schemes are. Now, I can't really predict what the season is going to be like. I can probably say that they're not going to win too many games, but I want to see them head in the right direction. I want to see Denny take another step. I want to see Kyle Kuzma take another step in his leadership role, but also Bilal Coulibaly and whoever they draft in this draft, and then possibly going into free agency. Who comes in with free agency? Do they go for the veteran style, or do they go more towards younger players? So that's what I really want to see. And as far as the coaching staff, go out there and put your imprint on this organization. What kind of style of basketball are you going to play? Are you going to go with that run and gun style that you had last year? And are you going to throw up a bunch of threes like you did last year? And are we going to get a set defense concept out there? Everybody on a string, moving side to side. And once you do get a turnover or they make the basket, don't sulk about it, but get the ball out quick and run it right back at them, because I cannot see that this organization is going to go for an old-style basketball, half-court style basketball. If you have young players, utilize that youth. Run, run, run. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, that would be very fun. Hopefully it will lead to some more wins, and we will be watching it no matter what on Monumental Sports Network. And if nothing else is entertaining, at least we have you and Wes, before halftime and after the games.
Absolutely. That's what I'm talking about.
I mean, you want entertainment. Come on. Right there. I mean, just follow you guys on Instagram, you clowning around. Nevertheless, what you guys do on television, they actually have some rules there. I mean, good God, put you two on the internet. Lord knows what. You guys wouldn't have jobs by the end of the week.
Yeah, we might hurt our own reputations if you put us on the internet with no rules there. yeah, it's dangerous, but it's okay. That's why we put you on television. Jason, always appreciate it, man. If we don't talk to you for the rest of the summer, have a great summer. Although I'm sure around free agency and the draft, we'll be in touch. Oh, absolutely. Hit me up anytime. Appreciate you guys for having me.
Absolutely. That's Jason Smith, everybody, with us here on The Hoffman Show.
Hey, this is DA, and you're listening to The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.